Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little. We are, again, reviewing CzechRaizor's big $5 win. If you enjoy this type of content, definitely check out pokercoaching.com. That is an interactive poker training site where I offer strategy advice on all sorts of situations that come up in both cash games and tournaments. Also, we have interactive quizzes, we have homework question webinars, and it's a lot of fun. So check it out at pokercoaching.com if you have not already. Let's go ahead and continue the review.
And he folds. So it is interesting to know that they didn't take an ace as a barrel card or as a scare card. It did not continue putting pressure on me. Yeah, so that is definitely worth noting, and let's move on.
Pocket kings, that's good.
So here we are with a premium hand in cutoff, facing 10x, close to 10x open. Okay, let's see what. Oh, it's really interesting.
So in this scenario, I pretty much always call with, well, assuming I have a stack that can still fold if I get jammed on, which you probably do here. I pretty much always call if the shove is about 6 times the big blind or more, and I min re-raise if it's about 5 big blinds or less. That's just what I do with my whole range. It's a nice strategy that makes you pretty difficult to play against, so I tend to like that strategy.
I remember it was one of very many oversized, very large raises from this guy, and in this first spot, I obviously had to give it some credit, and certainly did not see that being very wide range or random hands. I wonder what's the best option.
Perhaps you don't see that he's all in. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm seeing this right, that he is all in. So if he's all in, doesn't really matter what. I mean, the fact that he's making a big raise, I don't think is very relevant. Oops, sorry, clicking the wrong play button.
I think I have to shove because he's already put 10 BBs in the middle, and if I raised like 290 or 300k, he's probably calling. But then I'm not sure what his range is, and he might just get away on the flop. So yeah, in this case I like shoving, and I did go all in.
I think you didn't realize that this guy shoved, but assuming he was not all in, I probably would have gone all in. So that's interesting to think about.
Alright, so I misread the hand because I remember
There we go.
one of the guys was opening close to 10x at one stage of the tournament. Sorry for this. This is a complete misery. And coincidentally, I think it was this 10/72. Let's see down the road if it's the case. But anyway, so it is a shove, and I have to reshove. I do not see any merit, any point in calling. It doesn't look any, especially with competent players, or given there are competent players left to act. It would not seem as weakness to them. I don't think they're going to view this as a weak part of my range once I flood this 10 BB shove. So reshoving is correct.
I generally disagree with that. I think that is making pretty big assumptions about your opponents, assuming they're going to play well and have generally good reads, and I just am not sure that is the case. So I definitely like the calling strategy in that spot of, and basically what I said. Also, you may want to call with it. So think about hands you may want to call with and then fold to a shove. Obviously, there aren't very many here at all, but maybe a few. Like say ace jack, you may want to call and then fold to a shove. Maybe ace queen. Maybe pocket eights. I don't know. I have not run the math on these, but those are at least thoughts.
It's not like anybody's going to fold pocket jacks or pocket queens to this, I don't think.
They may. You'd be surprised.
Okay, so once again, sorry for misread. Righty, so let's do one last, and we can finish it off. Finish it off with this part 4. we should be down to around 3 or 4 tables as far as I remember. Okay, so approaching hand 400 and getting dealt another premium. Pocket ace is UTG. 700, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went for a little bit larger than min. I wonder what the reason is. I do not think that I would just be raising and sizing based on the strength of my hand. I wonder what the reason was in this spot. Probably just to pressure these guys to not to overcall but to jam, to shovel in once they wake up with like 7s or 8s plus, hands like maybe king queen suited and hands that they would otherwise call to min raise. So maybe putting, and another reason is that this big blind could have been very loose or defending very loose, so I wanted to put more pressure, well not more pressure but to start building pot with his defending range. Okay.
I definitely think you should just stick with your standard pre-flop raise size, but you know, whatever. We're playing the big $5 tournament. I imagine people are not paying so much attention to what your exact raise sizing is.
So I did make it a little bit larger than 2x and get one caller from MP for his 132k, and we got roughly 4.5 times the board behind. And there's no reason not to start value betting on this texture, on this flop, as I would do on pretty much any flop with pocket aces. I don't think I had too much information on this guy, so let's see what I did. Okay. Again, I do not like deviating from very standard fundamental value betting line. I think that I assume that once he's got queen x, he's going to do the betting, and he would bet some misses, the hands that he missed. But again, then if I imagine all the possible scenarios on going to the turn, I would have to have info that he's going to barrel off, and he's going to barrel a lot of turns for me to like this way, like this line to be the most preferable one, and to like to play this way, this hand this way. So I like betting. I prefer betting over check calling.
Well, I generally do not like this check for the reasons you said, because whenever you check call, you have to rely on this guy betting the turn and betting the river. That has to be, you have to think that's going to happen more often than you just betting flop, betting turn, betting river, and getting called 3 streets. And I think you're very likely to get called once or twice whenever you bet the flop. And if you don't bet the flop, I don't think there's any guarantee this guy just stabs every single time. So I think by checking here, you give this guy the opportunity to just check behind and then maybe fold to your turn bet. I think if you just bet the flop, this is a board that he should connect with often enough. I wouldn't bet big. If pot was 132k, I would bet, you know, pretty small. Let's just make sure we're reading everything right here.
To shovel in, all from MP for these 100. They pressure these guys raising a little bit larger. We should KTG raising to shovel it, and this big blind more pressure. And
yeah, so you just I just wanted to be sure you made did not get 3-bet or anything ridiculous that I missed. So yeah, I would just bet the flop.
A lot of turns for me. Play this way. Calling is, I like check calling more than check raising, because that will reveal the strength of my hand immediately. But I'm not sure that this guy who's got 5% 3-bet and 94 hands, so I do not think I had any very specific info, I would barrel off. He might even check some queen jack suited, queen 10 suited, and that type of stuff behind, whereas he would definitely pay off 2 barrels, and on the turn we might go check check, and he might river some backdoor equity, and so on and so on. Just so many things, so many bad things can happen to outweigh maybe a little bit of bluffing that he could be doing on the turn, but overall it is not the best line I could have done here, I could have taken here. Alright, so we go check check.
And this is exactly what I was talking about, right? You let him put in 1 bet, you let him see the turn and the river, and you don't really get paid on the river. This is actually not even a good card for you on the river because he may decide to bet with middle pair if he had it on the flop. So I actually like checking on this river because if he has king high or jack high or ace high, he may decide to bluff the river. Whereas when you bet the river big, he's going to fold those every time. So you're really only getting called by a queen here, I think. I don't think ace high is just going to randomly look you up because he would have to think you're going to be betting with a lot, or at least some of your misses on this flop. So when you check, you just must have some value hand. I don't know. I think your hand just looks very face up in this spot. I don't like this play at all. I just would have bet the flop and gone from there.
And I decided to bomb the river. Well, bet on the larger side. It's not overbet or anything, but he should not have too many 9x with shove stacks behind.
He certainly could, though. Again, this is the big $5 tournament. I do not discount various hands like 10-9, ace-9 suited, 9-8 suited, 9-7 suited, jack-9 suited, queen-9 suited. I'm not really discounting those.
And calling AP raise from the cards off. So I decided to make it look fluffy or just go for max value. Maybe make him here call 8s on 7-8s, 10s, or queen x. Anyway, I think, okay, in this specific scenario, in a specific hand, I managed to get max value out of his range that he very likely missed the flop with, but overall I do not like taking this passive line without having good reasons for it.
I don't think you can necessarily assume you got the maximum value out of his garbage range because he could very easily have a hand like King Jack or Jack 10 that would have called your flop bets. And then, if you bet the turn, maybe he's going to fold at that point. But I think that in this scenario, you're assuming a bit too much about the guy's range. I would not be able to definitively say that we got the maximum value because he only got one bet, right? It's hard to get worse than one bets, especially on a board like this that should connect reasonably well with his range.
At this point, I think we are down to around 3 or 4 tables. So I would like to look at some, given my stack, I would like to look for some spots to put pressure on my opponents because I think this is the major league in my game. I managed to run my stack up in many tournaments and managed to do quite a few deep runs, and then I am not sure whether I manage my stack perfectly or to the best point of putting max pressure on my opponents and avoiding unnecessary risk at the same time, but just kind of balancing it out and being able to achieve the best of the both worlds. Okay.
It's hard to get the best of both worlds.
Okay. This is probably a hand that I should have defended.
Yeah, I probably would peel and see the flop. I would be okay with that.
I guess this hand is aligned with my overall strategy when I'm deep and facing under the gun raises, that I do not want to 3-bet call and 3-bet fold at low stakes, and when people are very straightforward, and I do not see any value. I do not think there's a good amount of value of them 4-betting me light and I can jam and get any fold equity, or just get it in with hands like ace queen suited or pocket tens. I just do not see that happening, and it could be wrong, but it is my assumption. However, flatting from small blind, it seems a bit too much. It seems like I'm losing too much value out of my hand by flatting in the worst position at the table. So I think that 3-betting and folding it to like a click 4-bet or any very suspicious 4-bet is better than flatting. I do not like flatting in small blind.
I am okay with flatting in this spot, mainly for the reasons you said. We have to think the early position raiser is opening pretty snug, and I don't think that you can reasonably happily get it all in. I think that you're going to be much better off by calling and then just playing somewhat intelligently on the flop. I think that's going to be your best strategy. So yeah, I would have just called as you did and then check folded this flop. I think that's okay. I mean, it's never really bad to be calling with hands like ace king because that takes that hand out of your 3-betting range. And strengthens whatever calling range you have. I don't really think you should have much of a calling range, like you said. But, I mean, this is just a weird spot because with these stack sizes, it's probably okay to get it all in pre-flop. So I don't know. I would have flatted as you did, but I really don't have much of a flatting range in this spot. So it's probably pretty face up whenever I do flat that I have a pretty good hand that I don't quite want to get it in with. So that's going to be mostly good big cards and good suited connectors. And, you know, it's hard to really take advantage of a range that is that strong after the flop. Also, maybe you want to have some of the medium pairs in your range as well that you don't want to 3-bet and get it in. So I don't mind that. I think this is actually okay.
Okay, there is not much to discuss on this floor. Okay, I skipped ahead a little bit and we are back to just over 20 bigs. Opening ace queen, which is very standard, just over to X, just over mid range.
One thing also worth mentioning with the ace king hand is that by flatting there, you make it to where you go broke way less often. And that's definitely something you want to have happen as you get deeper into tournament. You don't just want to go broke anytime you get any reasonable hand. So that's another really big reason to just call on that spot.
Ace. On to the next one. Alright, got some really bad hands. Let's see what happens with pocket eights.
I like this.
Yeah. A reg opens in the cutoff and I'm just over 20 bigs deep. 24, 23. Actually 22, 23 bigs. So I think it's very standard. It is a standard shove, and I could have gone for 3-bet call, but I didn't have any history, any metagame with this player to believe that he would jam like pocket sevens, pocket sixes, or ace x suited, and maybe some 8-9 suited or 7-6 suited hands that I crash or that I'm doing really fine with or against. So once I do not have that, I think jamming is better of these two options. But I could see arguments for 3-bet calling once I have dynamic established with this player. Probably pocket nines to get enough to shove. So maybe pocket nines I should 3-bet call and shove like 7s, 6s, 8s. Which might be exploitable, but at the same time he is wide enough, he should be opening wide enough. Button, just 4 cases, 4 opportunities, but 75% and 50% from bottom, 41% from MP. So overall he's opening really wide and really loose. So my shove I expect my shove to get through about 4 out of 5 times, assuming he will call with 8-9% of the range. So yeah. So high percentage of the time overall.
I don't know if you're gonna make him fold 80% of the time. 80% is quite a lot. So I mean that has to assume he's opening roughly 50% of hands if he's gonna fold and only call the top 10% of hands, right? So I would be very surprised if he folded out 80%. It's probably gonna be more like 70% or 65%, but something like that. Anyway, this is just a fine shove, and I don't really see any other option here.
All right. Few more unplayed lands and back to game premiums. We are slightly deeper, so I can see an argument. I can see 3-betting being the best way in this spot. Sizing wise I should make it 2.7, roughly 2.7, 2.8x as I would do with my entire range. Let's see if I went for something really different or exploitable.
I would probably go about 2.5x in this scenario, but you know, it's obviously a little bit more face up to make it smaller, but I don't think it matters, especially as you get a little bit more shallow stacked. So that's probably what I would have done, but I don't think it matters so much. You could also just jam, but I don't think that's a good strategy versus someone who's so loose.
No, I just went on to 3x, which yeah is standard. Maybe could have gone 136, 138, just a touch lower. But I hate this spot. I do not hate this sizing.
I'm not sure if you want to be balanced at all in this scenario, but you always want to ask yourself, which bluffs am I doing this with? I just don't know if you're doing this with any bluffs. I would not be too surprised if you have very few bluffs in this spot.
And it could could go both ways, you know. There are opponents that could level themselves that once you make it large, close to 3x, or on the larger side, still standard, but on the larger side, they can assume that you are having a weaker part of a range, or weaker type of range that is not too happy to see too many flops, and you have a strong hand, but a hand like maybe ace jack or pocket eights, pocket nines, slash your bluffing range, so he could get enough incentive to shove and go over the top and 4-bet jam. It's interesting to. It will be interesting to discuss how much this is a factor, and if I'm not leveling myself again, and whether the guy is thinking along the same lines. Anyway, I think anywhere from 135 to 145 is an okay sizing out of position in this pot.
Yeah, I probably would have gone a bit smaller. Also, given this guy is opening so many hands, I mean, 25% or 25-23 is pretty active. So I would not be shocked if you are supposed to call in that spot as you would call with a somewhat wide defending range. And that really is one of the benefits to having a wide defending range, is that you will get paid off, or at least get a continuation bet a ton of the time whenever you do flat with aces. So I would have either 3-bet smaller or called this particular opponent.